Okay, I'm clicking out live. Good evening, everybody. Again, Friday, the 15th of August, 2025. Thanks for everybody that's joined. Got a good show on today, I think. I've put a lot of prep into this, so I'm hoping that everybody will appreciate it. I just want to check one thing, because I always do this because I'm a bit paranoid, even though everything's working and it says live. Can you hear me, Vibra?
I think it's double.
Okay, so let me just have a look on my X account, because I just want to check that everything's kicking off okay. You'll probably hear a bit of an echo at the start because I am talking, but I just want to make sure that this is count, because I just want to check that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we're all on. Let me just put another quote. So I just want to send it out to the community, because by doing this, it always gets more awareness, and then we can get going. Cubic. Oh, wrong one. Capital. Right. Okay. Let me just send that one out there into the space. Right. Got people coming in. Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, if you can share this out, that would be brilliant. It will really help the exposure for the Qubic project, and obviously get people into this stream so we can learn more about Qubic Capital. Sounds coming through brilliantly. So, welcome everybody. I got a special guest here with me today. There was going to be two special guests, actually. There was going to be PJ was going to be joining us. He might still be joining us at some point. He's well known within the Qubic space and wider crypto as well. And also I've got Vibra Finance with me. He's actually going to be my new Qubic live streaming partner. We're currently working to put a proposal together so we can professionalize what we do and really grow the numbers. He's someone that I've followed for quite some time. He hangs out in all kinds of communities, including some of the DJing communities of Pulse Chain, straddles up and come in blue chips. He's immune to criticism of what tokens he is in. The diversity of his portfolio and the experience that he has doing deep dives into projects gives him a good level of respect from those that know him. And he is also well connected with a lot of wealthy clients as well. So once we start streaming, hopefully some of those will expose some of their liquidity. So what a fantastic week that it's been in Qubic. Crypto's been pretty good as well, to be fair. Qubic and mining other cryptos, including 52% achievement of mining XMR, which is Monero, which is a multi-billion-dollar privacy token. In fact, we were talking off screen that many think that the Qubic founder actually had a hand in Monero as well. Monero fought back a little bit by attacking Qubic network, which was actually pretty handy for Qubic because it showed the resilience to Qubic systems and the security. And on top of that, this week we hit a 400 million market cap. Not quite sure what it's at the moment, but everything's really looking tasty and things are starting to hot up. So today, guys, we'll be talking about Qubic Capital, which is a project built on Qubic. Hopefully we can learn together. I mean, I'm still learning. I'm invested in Qubic Capital as well as Qubic, but still plenty to learn. Also, before I formally introduce Vibra, I just want to give all of the newbies just a quick, brief overview of Qubic, because no doubt we're going to be getting people in from all kinds of communities. And I know Vibra, one of the reasons I really, really wanted to link up with Vibra is because he is very, very well connected in a lot of other tokens. So firstly, for any newbies, I'd just like to give you a brief overview of what Qubic is and the reason it's the tech leader in the Web3 space. So number one, it's the fastest blockchain at 15 million TPS. It has feeless transactions, which is I think is kind of unknown in the crypto space. It's got a useful proof of work foundation. It's got a AGARTH, which is the decentralized AI intervention. It's got DEX AGI, which is decentralized artificial intelligence, planned by 2027. I mean, at this current time, they're trying to make the AI come to life. It's quorum based, so it's got a computer system with 676 computers. They are like the validators. It's scalable, smart contracts with IPO model. It's open source and community driven. It's got Oracle machines which connect real world data to smart contracts. And it's got one of the most experienced founders in crypto, possibly Satoshi, possibly the founder of Monero, but definitely the founder of IOTA, NXT, QUBIC, and maybe even had a hand in some others that we're not sure about, which I think is absolutely crazy. I mean, I've always been one of these people that's kind of gone after my investments by looking at the founder and the team. And I think we've got a fantastic founder and team. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce my special guest and streaming partner, well experienced in the crypto space. If you just want to give yourself a bit of an intro, mate, Vibra, welcome, and tell the community about yourself. Some of the stuff that I like was off screen as well, which was brilliant. So go for it, mate.
Definitely. No, that was really well said there. That for everyone new out there, that was a lot. We could literally do a stream on everything he said there, from AI Garth to what is UPOW or POUW, useful proof of work versus proof of work. That's a whole rabbit hole itself, or a whole subject for itself. So Qubic, there is just so much there once you start looking past the surface level FUD that you're going to find on every single project, that this is one of the hidden gems. And one thing that I've noticed over the years is I don't think you'll find very many people too who are out telling you to buy XRP and Hex early on in 2020, because they were the two projects that were scrutinized the most. Like, I was in a private group and my job was to do research, find altcoins, and once a week give out picks. And it was crazy to see the only coin that I ever got pushback from was Hex. I was talking about all kinds of different altcoins. It was okay, yep, perfect. And then Hex, people had this crazy pushback. Never saw anything like it. And sure enough, it was one of the best performing cryptos with one of the most polarizing founders in crypto, with the most FUD I've ever seen, and still to this day. And it took me a while to realize that FUD is actually very bullish for crypto. It means that there's so much potential upside left. Like with Bitcoin right now and Ethereum, like what's next? Now that you got Wall Street in, you got, countries buying, like what that's the top for these coins, I feel like. So you need to be thinking out in the future, 2-3 years ahead. What are we going to be doing once AI gets more powerful? What are we going to be doing once all these institutions start tokenizing their assets? What are we going to be doing when AIs and self-driving cars need to talk to each other? Which, ironically, like you said, the founder of IOTA is the founder of Qubic. And it's just ironic that IOTA was bashed and bashed. I've talked about it to a lot of people, saying it's a great project, just buy it and hold it for the long term. And sure enough, it was ahead of its time. He launched it in 2017, and now in 2025, they're signing deals in the UAE or Dubai for AIs to communicate with each other. So he had the vision back in 2017 to build a project for self-driving cars, AIs, to talk to each other. And once you look into Qubic further, you realize he's been thinking about Qubic all the way back since 2008 at least. Just the world wasn't ready for it yet. And it still almost isn't. AI Garth is a year and a half out or so. And with crypto, you need to find these opportunities early. When the stuff hits the mainstream and everyone's talking about it, it's too late. You know, there's very few opportunities left out there where I think you can just buy right now and close your portfolio for years, come back, and it's like you never missed a beat. And that's what I try to identify across all of crypto through, you know, XRP or Hedera or Flare or Quant or, you know, Stronghold now that's starting to really take off. And when you do the research, there's a reason these random coins are pumping. It's not random. This is an institutional bull run. This is going to be very different. It's no longer the meme coin run, the retail driven market. This is big money coming in, and they're not going to play the same games. They're going to come into the blue chips of crypto, in my opinion. So that's what I'm focused on. And I just look at the track record of Qubic, everything he's launched. He's been ahead of his time. And if Qubic works, look at what it just did to Monero. We now just took Monero mining over, and then potentially Dogecoin next, Caspa next. I mean, the sky is the limit. So it just excites me to be here early. And I found so many projects that you get extremely bullish on, and you're screaming at the top of your lungs to everyone, you got to look at this, you got to get into it. And it seems like no one will listen. And you're just yelling on deaf ears. But the community is growing with Qubic. People are starting to understand it. And there's just so much out here. There's so much to digest. And that's what I really look forward to with you, is kind of breaking down all these different topics and going down the rabbit hole and really discussing this stuff, because there's so much there. Like I said earlier, we could spend an hour talking about the first 5 things you mentioned about Qubic.
Brilliant. That's such a great overview. And I think our audience is going to realize over time that me and yourself are not stuck within the echo chamber. And that's no disrespect to anybody that follows any crypto. But I mean, we had a chat offline, and I think Vibra is a lot more experienced at deep diving than me, but I'm also a deep diver into loads of different cryptos. Not that I'm going to jump into just anything, but I like to get into the real nitty gritty. I like to get into the weeds of a project. And I think listening to Vibra and hearing his experience within different projects and what their capabilities are, I think is going to be great at widening our base rather than just talking to the Qubic community. Obviously, it's imperative that we talk to the community. Brilliant, because we've got a fantastic community. Narrative is important, but there will be time that narrative is slightly in the background, and it's like you don't hear about, like, for example, if you look at stocks, you don't hear about the Google community or the Microsoft community. It just becomes the tech, the product, and the money for investors. And I think that's what's going to start happening with a lot of these tokens. The best tech is going to rise to the top, and it is going to win. And it's going to get the devs on it. It's going to get the builds on it. It's going to get the investors into it. But the great thing about this is we are here very, very early. And I think that's imperative. And I think a lot of the tokens that I've seen Vibra talking about, he's been in some of them a lot earlier than me, which is fabulous. Now, talking about early tokens, that leads me on. That's a good segue. That is. I can't believe I did that. We're here today to talk about Qubic Capital. Okay, so Qubic Capital is I've got a little brief explainer about what Qubic Capital is. So Qubic Capital, every time there is a live IPO, smart contract offering on Qubic, which is how projects are allowed to be built by smart contracts. That smart contract then goes into an IPO. Qubic Capital has a smart contract and a community, and it asks their community to vote on Discord how many shares in a particular project they would like to try and get hold of. So the way that it works is the maximum shares for each IPO is 676, and the community and the public can bid in an open auction to get some of these shares. Individuals can buy into these IPOs. However, these bids can go quite high. So, you know, you might be talking, I don't know, $2,000 equivalent per share. And many small investors might miss out on these as they've only got limited funds. So Qubic Capital is a way of buying into not just one IPO release, but into many of the IPO releases as an investor trading group. And what they do is they position themselves into what could be a massive passive income generator. And the fees are paid weekly in Qubic tokens. So at the moment, they're quite small results, but over time, when numbers start generating into Qubic, when people start really piling in, you know, these are going to be potentially really great passive income results. So I've got some slides in front of me, and I'm going to click onto the next one, and I'm going to kind of give you a run through of what Qubic, what Qubic Capital is, and the passive income generation that it can bring you. So this is a slide which basically shows Qubic Capital in the middle. So this is kind of like an organization almost. It's a group of investors, but it's done on a smart contract. So your funds, all the funds are completely safe. So if you look around, these are the current investments that Qubic Capital has got hold of. So we're looking at Cube, we're looking at Random, we're looking at, I need to open my other screen because it's so small, Nostromo, we're looking at MLM, which is My Last Match, we're looking at QX, QVault, MS Vault. It's also invested $110,000 worth into mining equipment, GPU and CPU. Also, they've invested into Qswap. They've invested into Quattery, and at the top again, Cube. So it's quite a nice amount of varied shares within the ecosystem. So these are many of the ecosystem builds at the moment. A lot of them are going to be well used. So if we go on to the next slide, we can see.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah,
that
sure.
last slide there, like those project, like the Q lottery is such a cool different system. You know, the betting system in Qubic is so cool where we could put up little prop bets, like, you know, with each other, and the quality of these projects that are launching, they're very well thought out, needed, cool ideas. It's not like it's just like another fork of something where we're adding another a copy of some lending protocol that we've seen on 8 different chains. Like these are a lot of unique ideas or things that were just needed for the chain in general, and they all generate passive income. So that's one thing that I really like to look at with cryptos. If I'm looking at a couple AI projects and something can generate me yield versus something I'm just going to hold liquid, I'm going to move towards something that generates passive income. And not only is Qubic, I would say, extremely deflationary, but you have the staking rewards, which are almost 19 or 20% alone. So if alone, you right there, you can earn great yield. And then these opportunities here, Qubic Capital gives you exposure to everything. So it's like a hedge against if one of them takes off and just starts going crazy, you have some exposure to it through Qubic Capital. And as these new projects keep coming, I think there's like a DAO, or do they vote on whether or not to go for investing? I'm not sure exactly how that works in the back end, but it's such a cool concept, and I'm actually in the process of doing it myself. I was looking to see where it was the cheapest, whether it was the new pre-sale or sale that they had, or on the secondary market.
Yeah, good point. I think at the moment they are, if anybody wanted to buy any QCAP, they hit up Qubic Capital X account and let them know how many they want, and they do a deal in that way. But I think they can also buy it off QX as well. But I think I would probably advise anybody that's kind of new to it to try and go via the X account. So on to the next slide. I just want to give you a brief overview about how the fees are generated. Really simple. And what we're going to do, Vibra, as well, I've got slides that delve a bit into the detail as well, because I know you picked up some of the points about why some of these are really important and the kind of things they can generate. Yeah, I'm quite excited about some of the figures that I see. I did actually try and make a little calculator actually to try and work out what I could be earning, and I was like thinking, yeah, more than retirement money. So yeah.
It is crazy, and that's the problem with once you, like I am with Qubic, I do not want to let it go. Like I'm not selling my Qubic until at least 2027, until AI Garth either becomes the one or this thing fails. It looks like I'm riding this thing out. I got in early enough, I feel like, where I'm comfortable enough that this thing is going to either take over or it's going to just, like, there's no in between with something like this when you really step back. And like I said, I don't want to get rid of it. So just getting one QCap share, you know, it gets rid of the FOMO feeling for all the new projects coming in. I can just accept that. All right, I'm going to get just one QCap share. I can part with 300 million, which is a lot of Qubic. It's not like it's cheap to get a share, but you know, it's a great opportunity, and it will prevent me from feeling like I missed out on so many different launches that keep coming because I'm just not a whale that I can just keep buying into them. So for me, this is exposure to everything I can be happy with. And like with crypto, your mentality and your mindset is 95% of it. Is can you weather the FUD in the bear markets and know when to buy when it feels like, oh God, I just got to get out or cut my losses here. But if it's a fundamentally safe project, that's when you need to be actually buying. And it's always reverse psychology. When you want to buy something, people are creating exit liquidity, and when things look like people are selling or people are taking profits, that's, you know, the time to re-enter. And Qubic, fortunately, you know, I got in at the top. I found it in like February, March of last year, and the price was still 3.5x up from here. So the fact that it dropped all the way down, it allowed me, I never thought I could hit 1 billion Qubic because it was almost 11 grand when I found it. So the fact it dropped down to like $980 or even less maybe for 1 billion, that was a blessing for us to be able to come in and actually buy when it was looking like it was dead on the charts. And it's just funny how that works. And when you're here long enough, you just see it over and over and over, the quality projects that are super undervalued. And it's almost with all of crypto right now, with Hedera and Stellar and XRP and Flare and Quant, they are all so undervalued right now. The prices do not reflect the utility and where these markets are going one bit. So it just, it really clicked for me in the last couple months when I could kind of step back and go on vacation and not be here every day and just sit back and just think about it and from a different view and perspective.
Yeah. And I think, I agree with what you're saying about the long-term positioning of it. You know, that's key. Because, you know, something's not just going to go up in a few weeks or months. You've got to let the project breathe, and you've got to sit on them tokens and let things happen. And I've got to welcome our friend PJ. He's actually the reason that I'm here now doing this. I'll be honest with you, because I was in crypto obviously, but he was the one that was like, dude, you've got to look into this project. And I was like, oh, okay, mate, can you please stop now? Because he was like, it was literally a weekly occurrence. And then finally I thought, right, I've got a deep dive here because I trust the guy and I like the guy, you know, and I was like, right, I've got to do a deep dive. And I did the deep dive and I was like, shit, I actually thought the price was going to spike, you know, quickly. So I got in as quickly as I could. But actually there's been opportunities to get in. PJ, how are you doing, mate?
Not too bad, man. How are you doing?
Very, very good. I don't know if you've met Vibra before.
We've had little chats in the boards, and that's about it. Little back and forth.
Nice. Very knowledgeable. And also, I was talking earlier about expanding to wider than just Qubic. You know, so we're going to try and bring in more people from outside of Qubic as well.
That's going to happen anyway, I think.
Yeah, Vibra's been in the space, but I mean for these chats as well, because you know, we're aiming at the target group is really obviously Qubic people can, you know, come in, and I think there's going to be a lot of people looking at the Discord. There's going to be a lot of people that are invested in Qubic that are not invested in Qubic Capital, for example. So we're just
100%
spreading that word, because I was in Qubic first, obviously, as you know, and then you were the one that told me about Qubic Capital, and I was like, I like the idea of this. Let me deep dive this one as well. And
didn't I introduce Qubic to you as well?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. I totally misunderstood you.
You introduced Qubic to me, and you know, and other things as well. You know, even some of the IPO stuff. As
MLM too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, MLM. You got me hooked on MLM, and now I understand it. I'm in. But I'm not just blindly following. I'm looking at what you or people at Vibra are telling me, and then I'm joining in, and then I'm like, right, okay, if I think it's got potential long term, I'm going in. And and I was on an auction with you for MLM, and I actually started buying things. I wasn't intending to, but I thought these things are not going to be about for long, and in-game assets, if that game takes off, are going to be ridiculous, you know.
Absolutely. So, no, I remember that clearly. I was kind of surprised when you told me, hey, I got one. I'm like, good for you.
Yeah, and I'm a quick learner though, you know. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm just going to take you through some of the slides, and then what we're going to do as we go through them, we can just chat in and around them. So I'm going to go through this one here. So this is basically, it's all about Qubic Capital, how fees are generated. I've just done, it's very, very basic. It doesn't work to an exact science for every single one of the IPOs that shares that Qubic Capital has got. But let's just go with it and see. So basically, the top left, you can see user pays fee to the smart contract. So when they're using that smart contract, a fee is generated. Okay. Then the smart contract, for example, random, will then give out fees. So those fees will be generated, and those fees, some of those fees that are generated, will go to the dev team. Obviously, they need paying. And then a percentage of those fees as well will go to the 676 shareholders. So Qubic's one of those. So then some of that amount will go to QCAP. So for example, if Qubic Capital held all of the shares, 676, then all 776%, all of the fees would go to QCAP. But the way that it is, most of the time, QCAP has got maybe, I don't know, 200 or 100 or something like that of each of the IPOs, and it will get that allocation. So it will keep that whole allocation, and those allocations, whatever they're worth at that time, will then be paid weekly to QCAP shareholders' wallets. So directly. So every Wednesday, I think it is, I get whatever it is. So I get plenty. I'm just gonna. Right, okay, sorry. So I was just looking at the stream. And then that gets paid weekly to QCAP shareholders. So it's at the moment, there's a bit of an online joke on the Discord where people are like, is it peanut day? Which is quite funny. But at some point, those peanuts will be gold coins. So that's kind of how it works. That's how the fees are generated. Have you got anything else to say on that, PJ or Vibra?
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to note, like a lot of these shares that we're collecting right now, whether we're collecting them individually or through Qubic Capital, a lot of them aren't paying anything. Like for instance, Random, you just mentioned. Random is actually a smart contract that was devved by CFP himself, which is going to, every time that AGI or Agarth or Anna is going to be called on smart contract share, and it's going to pay out dividends in every interaction. So like Random is probably one of the biggest sleepers of all the smart contracts out there right now. And you know, other ones, MLM, there's like a wallet with something like 30 billion sitting in it that's ready to be distributed to shareholders.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, like, and that's just been accumulating through auctions and other things that we've been doing to promote it. So
so just to stop you there, we are gonna what I'm gonna do, PJ and Vibra, is I'll go through each of the ones that we hold. I've made some notes on that, And I know that PJ especially has got some detail on them. So what I'll do is I'll take you to the next slide so that we can actually have a look. So deep dive. So let's have a deep dive, see what Qubic Capital hold on behalf of the shareholders, which I am one, thankfully. Next slide. So we're going to start off this with Quattery. So I've just done a brief explanation of what it is. So Quattery is a decentralized betting exchange on Qubic. 100% of the fees associated with creating bets, potential for lottery feature to be added. And the fees, if I've read this right, are crazy. 100% of the fees and 10% of the winning pot go to shareholders, which I put in brackets, absolutely huge, because I was typing as I was thinking. And then the amount of holdings Qubic Capital have is out of 676, Qubic Capital hold 122, which makes Qubic Capital the top holder out of all the shareholders for Quattery. So
can I jump in here for a second?
Yeah,
Not to interrupt you.
No, fine, go for it.
There's some alpha on Quattery that I think people need to know about. First of all, it is a smart contract that technically will actually be able to be implemented and used within the casino inside of the MLM game. So none of that has actually happened or even being planned, but the potential for it to happen is there. The second thing is the 122 shares that we own through Qubic Capital. Those were actually acquired with intention. The devs kind of went quiet, and it really needed some work. So Qubic Capital took over the dev position, hired developers, and now we're actually restructuring and building new UIs to be able to generate more fees, to get more eyes on it, to make it more user friendly, and in hopes of like building adoption of Qubic through Quattery as well.
Yeah. Are you aware of this? Thanks, PJ. Are you aware of this one, Vibra, or are you new to some of the projects within?
So I knew about the Quattery system, but I didn't know. I don't know much about the new game. Samson was telling me about it when I had him on stream. We did a collab a couple weeks ago, and it's like, because I'm very busy, so I don't have time to just spend all day looking into Qubic. But I mean, it's almost like now I'm forced to. Like it's on the top of my list almost every day because it's the real deal, man. And when, like I said before, Come From Beyond was so far ahead of his time with IOTA, with one of the best projects out there. Now it's getting the adoption because the AI infrastructure is coming. We need robots to be able to communicate with each other. That was so far ahead of its time for him to think that, and him just get trashed. IOTA is a terrible project. It's a failed coin. It's a dinosaur coin. And now look, 8 years later, now the world has caught up to what he saw back then. And Qubic he's been working on since, I don't know, maybe the first origin addresses of Bitcoin that were 1.5 Ubic. So I don't know. To me, I think Qubic has been on the back of his mind for so long. And
Absolutely.
like I said, I need to learn more about the game now and
yeah.
how much Qubic is being burnt and how, like what you were just saying, PJ, like this, that's so much alpha right there.
Yeah, great points, guys. I mean, I think my look at Quattery is just, I put here more on the more details. If Quattery generated $50 million, each of the 676 shares would yield $74,000. So that's $74,000 times 122. And I've put here, we need in the community, we need to start understanding how to use Quattery, because I'll be honest with you, I don't really. And I looked at the screen the other day and I was like thinking, yeah, I'd like to put a bet on it, but I don't really quite know how to do it. But I think it's one of those that I think when people do the first one and there's a growing amount of people that actually start to use it, I think things are gonna get going, because there's all kinds of things we can bet on. We can bet on price of Bitcoin, for example, or price of Qubic, or we can sports events, or literally anything that we might be interested in. And I think it's got a lot of potential, this one. I think and also obviously with the other stuff that PJ was talking about, I think it's going to be there's going to be a lot of movement. But I'm thinking we give it a bit of a jolt somehow. I think maybe I need to do a stream on it. Maybe get the devs or whoever's in charge of it to kind of do us a little presentation, and we can actually do something live.
Yeah.
I think I need to correct myself here. QUBIC Capital actually helped the devs acquire, I believe it was 200 shares. Now with those 200 shares plus our 122, plus individual shareholders like myself and a few other guys, it gives a majority to make the decisions through quorum, right? So because of how QUBIC Capital helped, we're able to help decide the future of how it plays out.
Perfect. Yeah, I like the sound of that.
This is a better poly markets.
Yeah, it's got a great potential, hasn't it? Right, I'm going to go to the next slide now because I want to get through this and I want to keep all of our viewers entertained. So the next one is QX. So what is it? It's a decentralized exchange on QUBIC. The fees are 0.5% fee on each trade, which I think that's absolutely mad. It's just, you know, when I look at the QCAP holdings on this, it's 21. I don't know what it actually sold for, but 21 is still going to be quite significant. So if we look at the more details, if QX were to reach a trading volume of $7 billion annually, for comparison, Uniswap has a daily trading volume of 1 billion. Each share would generate $400,000. I just think that's going to be an absolute massive. So you're talking each share $400,000, times that by 21 for the QCAP holdings, and then distribute that throughout the community. You know, the passive income potential is so obvious with QUBIC Capital that it's just crazy. And I think once more eyes are on it, I think it's gonna really start to gather momentum. I have actually seen that since we've been in the QUBIC Capital community, we've been kind of pushing it a bit more. I have seen that there's the Discord channel started to rise, and I spoke to Wolf, who kind of leads it, and he said there's a bit more activity going on and stuff, which is great news for everybody, because each month as well there is it's like an auction where people can actually buy the tokens until, I think there's like 100,000 available, and then when they've gone, the auction closes until the next month. And I think already 60,000 sold this round. I think there's only about 40,000 left. So if anybody is interested, hit Wolf up on QUBIC Capital X account. Make sure you got the right one. Guys, anything on this decentralized exchange? Obviously, the comparison is Uniswap, and I think some people might kind of laugh at that at the moment. However, I think what we've got to take into account is at some point, and the things are growing quite quick on QUBIC. You know, there's a lot of devs incoming. There's a lot of activity. There's more members. You only have to look at the Discord. There's a lot more activity. People wanting to build stuff. When people start to come on board more and more things are built out, QX is going to be a really big thing. And obviously the trading fees are going to start ramping up on a big scale. And not to say in the future, because we're going to have all the best tech on QX. And I think the trades, am I right to say this, PJ? But I think the trades are cheaper than Uniswap on QX.
Okay, so yeah, you got it. Yeah, you're right. The deal is QX would be more like a big CEX. I think it's more like a centralized transfer within the ecosystem itself. Uniswap would be more like Qswap, and that's going to be dependent on QBridge. So you're not wrong. It's absolutely where every transaction through the ecosystem is going to pass through, and all of these additional protocols that are being built out as smart contracts. They're all trying really. It's kind of mandatory to include QX in their protocol, so that the QX shareholders aren't getting eliminated from earning fees. Now, QX is of course the very first DEX that's been released on the Cubic ecosystem. And it launched its IPO, I believe, 15 billion per share. And I know of somebody that paid 32 billion, and I know that they've sold as low as 6 billion. In the history of QX, it went from transfer fees of $1 million. So every time we would transfer, let's for instance, CFB tokens or Matilda tokens, it would cost $1 million Cubic to make that transfer. We know that transferring Cubic itself is 100% free. There's no transaction fee. But any assets, you need to pay a transaction fee. But because of the value intentions of where Cubic is going to be, and permitting everybody to be able to use the ecosystem, they were reduced to 100 Cubic per transfer. So even at that 100 Cubic transfer fee, we're still going to see ridiculous earnings on a weekly basis. Actually, QX pays out on every single transaction. So if you own a share, you can actually see it change daily.
And you know, the more I delve into the detail and hear what it's all about, the more bullish I get on all of these projects, you know, because it's
Me too, man.
And remember, guys, anybody that's listening, when you get into Cubic Capital, you're investing into the whole thing. So all of these projects that we're talking about today, you're going to be exposed to them without having to try and get hold of individual shares, which obviously if you had big money, you might want to do that as well. I've not got big money, but I've got a few shares. I've got a few Qswap individual shares for myself, just the fact that I thought it was going to be absolutely crazy. I've got a few Nostromo, and what's that other one that I've got? I've got MLM as well, not shares, but I've got in-game products. So I'm trying to build a little collection for myself, just because I know that things are going to take off. We're so early. Right, next slide.
You got to have that vision though too of being early for stuff. By the time the mainstream and everyone's talking and excited, like all these projects are going to be built out and the money's going to be flowing and they're going to be easy to use to bridge over to Cubic, to just get Cubic, you know, setting up wallets. It's not easy for the average person. And as that gets easier and it's on more exchanges, like this is the opportunity right now. Like when it's frustrating and it's not easy to set your wallet up and figure out how to get, like, that's how you know the project has upside. When you're Michael Saylor trying to sell to sovereigns and governments, like you're at the top of the line here, and investment and 401ks can now have exposure to crypto. Like that's the end of the road for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And like AI is the new narrative this cycle. Look at all the money that's being poured into just the infrastructure in America alone. And, you know, the opportunities here are just unlike anything I've ever seen. The smartest people are developing here, and we're still, like I said, we're still so early.
Do you know what? I was really laughing to myself then when you were saying that about being early, because I could probably get some screenshots of me and PJ's conversation about, like, you know, I was like putting $1,000 in and I was like, mate, is my money actually going to hit a wallet or what's going to happen here? I had no idea. The money was just flown out of my account, and it's just, I was like, shit, am I?
Great ogre days.
I was using an exchange that was not recognized, should we say, at that time. And I was like, this feels such a
scary
scam
stuff.
And then suddenly it was scary. And then suddenly I was like, actually, I started getting my first tokens in. And I was like, right, okay, now I calmed down a little bit, but I knew that I was very, very early. It wasn't necessarily the cheapest price ever, but it felt good being early. And even now, it's still very early, you know. So anybody listening,
my very first buy was just under 10K per billion, $1,000 for 100 million cubic.
Exactly. When I
my very first buy.
My goal was 1 billion cubic to get.
Me too, man.
Because I was like, I'm never going to get to 1 billion at this price. It was 11,000 ish around there. And after the dip came, I was so happy. And very few people can understand that dip is a blessing.
That's
with you 100%,
DCA though, isn't it? Those dips are really our gift, you know.
Man, did I pack it in at 900 a billion, 850 a billion? Oh man, those were the days.
Yeah. And and this is the thing, you know, when people are listening into this stream and they're kind of like, if you kind of understand it, like kind of, I suppose we do, this is like, you know, like when people were having conversations like this early Bitcoin, I've seen some of them old conversations, and it's absolutely hilarious where people are like shouting at the screen and saying, just buy it, guys, just buy it. Like, you know, there was one guy in particular, I don't know if he sold early, but we're in the same situation now. And I really do think the way that the project's moving, it just is a case of just getting in now. I think if you get in now, even if it does a 5x, 10x from here, I still think it's going to be cheap if you just hold it, if you just hold the token, because a lot of people will be trading as it goes up. They'll be hitting their targets and they'll be selling out. But the token and the project are still going to keep rising. So
isn't it more scarce than Bitcoin?
Well, yeah, I think it is actually, because 1 cubic is 1 cubic, and I think PJ told me about this ages ago. 1 cubic is 1 cubic, but 1 Bitcoin is 100 million Satoshis. So it's I think cubic is actually, when people look at the tokenomics of cubic and they say, oh, it's got, you know, they see the word trillion, they get a bit frightened. But I urge everybody, don't look at the word trillion tokens, look at the market cap. That's what you need to concentrate on. Any feed?
Well, and if you're going to look at,
Go on.
if you're going to look at it in trillions, then you got to look at Bitcoin in the same sense, right? Because for every Bitcoin, there's 100 million Satoshis. Exactly. And if you add up tokenomics to that, that equals like 2.4 quadrillion Satoshis. You know, we're roughly, what, a tenth as many at 200 trillion?
Exactly.
You know,
we're deflating. Bitcoin's inflating.
100%. We're in scary days right now because we're going to run out. The biggest short squeeze you've ever seen is brewing right now.
Get in now, guys.
Dogecoin potentially,
not
Casper potentially.
Yeah.
I'd love to see us do a 51% with frickin' an ASICs. Oh, I'm telling you, I'm getting chills thinking about it.
Yeah. So the next one, guys, we're looking at is Random. So Random is a tool for casino type games or products, and also AGOTH or AI related products as well. From what I've read, the fees, 50% of the fees are going to smart contract holders. Cubic Capital holds 66 out of the 676 shares, which makes it the top second holder. So anything related to casino, gambling, AI, my last match, the in token game, or needing a randomized feature, will need to use this smart contract. And I think it's going to be really well used as more things are being built. Once they come across this, I think I saw something that was talked about in the Discord that's being built out at the moment or thought about. They're going to obviously be using Random. So we are super early before these things are getting mass usage, but when they get mass usage, it's going to be a game changer. Any comments on Random, guys?
I kind of said my piece earlier. I'm a big believer in where it's heading.
Yeah. Right. So let's click on to the next one. Qubei. I think Qubei is quite interesting because I think it's an NFT marketplace. 1% apparently goes to the shareholders. Cubic Capital holds 93 out of the 676, which makes it a number 2 holder. So this is my personal opinion. I think NFTs gained a reputation in the last bull run, maybe not such a positive reputation, but in fact, I think they are quite useful for transferring value, especially if the NFT are backed by real world assets and are limited. Have you got any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I do.
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead on that one.
So last cycle, NFTs were just money laundering, monkey JPEGs. That's immediately what you associate to. And I don't know if that was done on purpose. It just happened, but that's the stigma that everyone has right now. NFTs, monkey JPEG, garbage. But in reality, there's projects and companies like Block V out there and Smart Media Tech that are building out these NFT platforms for Gucci, for Burberry, all the brands, all the apps that you have on your phone. Every time you go and buy an item or pants or a new bag, you're going to get an NFT with that. All your coupons are going to be NFTs. Like, so the NFTs are going to be such a big part of moving forward. And as institutions come in, I think real world assets are going to be that next big narrative, along with AI. As they tokenize everything, they start issuing debt on chain, start tokenizing real estate. You start buying and selling houses through NFTs. Like, that's only going to start growing. And as fast as Qubic is, I feel like, you know, there's a way that we are going to somehow gain exposure or bring on board some major platforms that deal with tokenization or real world assets, because Qubic is just, it's going to start gaining so much attention.
Great points, guys. Appreciate that. Right, let's have a look.
What about you,
one...
PJ? What were you going to say?
Oh, sorry, PJ.
No, that's all good. I'm in all blunt frankness, I'm pretty new to the entire crypto industry of a whole in and of itself. So this is my first bull run that I'm actually going through right now. And in the short time that I've been in it, I've been burned with NFTs a couple times already. So, you know, I'm going to reserve my thoughts on it, not because it doesn't have value, but because I'm not versed enough to discuss about it. Bottom line.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I will say is, on any investment that I'm actually doing, I am not investing in any product anymore that has got no value attached to it. That's
Agreed.
just my that is just my.
Agreed.
I'm not saying people aren't going to make money on these other things. And Vibra, you're probably more of an expert than me in a lot of different kinds of cryptos. But that's just my kind of you know, when I've got my tick list of things, does it do anything? Does it actually hold any wealth? I'm not kind of sticking with it. Bitcoin's a bit different, because I think Bitcoin is kind of has turned into like this kind of iconic store of wealth, and I think just some big investors are just literally sitting on it whatever price. That's my thought on that. But the next slide that I've got,
they're going to be so big, NFTs. Like, it's going to be integrated into all of the apps we start using, every coupon we start using, tickets to every ball game or football game, music, songs, royalties, like getting exposure to you know, Taylor Swift's new album or new up and coming artists and music, the music industry. Like, we're just scratching the surface, and NFTs are going to be a massive thing in the future. So just having the platform and having such a fast blockchain that can handle, you know, tokenizing, God, no, you know, an entire state's real estate. You know, if New York State wanted to tokenize all of the government buildings that they have throughout the state, you can't do it on Ethereum. It's just not happening. And the fact that Tom Lee's out here telling Wall Street they're going to tokenize the world on Ethereum at 50 transactions a second, it just cracks me up. So, yeah, it makes me bullish.
I think that view on NFTs is, I came from the view, which was obviously last bull run, which was NFTs were just literally like a kind of a JPEG. There was nothing to them. There was, you know, somebody would create a bit of digital art,
money laundering,
and yeah, that kind of thing. However, my new view is that what you've just said there, which is basically NFTs will actually have an actual value to them, maybe backed by something. You know, you could have even gold-backed NFTs or real estate-backed NFTs, where that NFT that you get is not any longer just going to be a photograph or a JPEG. It will actually be something physical. So that's a good take on it, and you know, I keep an open mind on a lot of those kind of NFTs.
Imagine if you tomorrow, you know, you next year you want to sell your house, and you can go to a Propy project where you can list your house as an NFT and sell it through crypto with XRP, or you can go hire a broker and go through the closing process with 8 different attorneys, the title companies, and sign 50 different papers, or you could just buy an NFT or sell your house as an NFT. And that's where we're going. And like, the future is not in this paper writing stuff down. It's going to be where you want to sell your house. Okay, you put a copy of your, you know, upload a copy of your deed, you upload all the right documents, and now you check the boxes. Now that your house is ready to go, it's on the open market. Anyone can come in and buy it. Like, it's gonna be so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. It is going to be amazing. It's going to be a lot simple, a lot fairer, and it's going to be a lot more straightforward. Next one, guys, Nostromo. So Nostromo is a launch pad on Qubic, which I like launch pads a lot, and I think I've not really seen that many do that well. But there again, I've probably not. They've probably needed a little bit of time to get going. However, I do like the potential in launch pads. The fees on this are 90% to IPO shareholders, from what I've read. QCAP holdings are 80 out of 676, which makes it the top holder. Now, the details to Nostromo, I've got to get these guys on a chat, because I was just so confused reading it. Maybe it's just my I don't know, the way that I was looking at it, way that I was reading it, or maybe I've not got high enough IQ. I don't know. But anyway, I put the details here. So I put here, power new IDOs. There's tiered rewards for investors. So investors can basically invest into projects and put certain amounts in. The higher the rank you get, the bigger the rewards during fundraising phases. So when the fundraising phases happen, you get bigger rewards if you're a high rank member. Tiers 4 and 5, like this, I think there's tiers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think tiers 4 and 5 pay 100 million Qubic to launch, and on a fundraising run. So if you are fundraising for a project, I think you've got to deposit 1 billion Qubic, set your token and phases for the public sale. It's not the best explanation. I've actually put here the tokenomics to this need a bigger deep dive, but in essence, I do like a launch pad, because they can really set things rolling with regards to ecosystem. Lots of opportunity for people that want to, somebody might put an idea forward, and then somebody comes, and then investors have got a very easy way of basically being part of the project. I like it. What do you guys think about it? Anything?
I love it, man. You like, just for Pulse Chain, for example, you need to have a launch pad where people can come in, and if they need to launch a quick meme coin, if it's catching attention, or someone has a good idea, you need to be able for people to easily come and build.
Did you find it?
Yeah. I can maybe add a little bit there too. I think one of the biggest things that Nostromo is going to do for the ecosystem is it's going to be able to help onboard new protocols and actually get through the process of submitting within the Qubic ecosystem, because like we discussed earlier, it's not the easiest crypto to get into and figure out in a night. It's complex on so many different levels, which is why it's so brilliantly beautiful.
Yep. It's exactly why it's flying under the radar.
Exactly. Fully agreed. Too undervalued.
This is it. But again, integrated into Qubic Capital. So Qubic Capital's portfolio is growing, and it's got projects that, when activity starts happening, are going to be crazy. Now, this is one of my favorite ones, Qswap. So I've called it here. I said the other one, QX, I compared QX to Uniswap, but I think what PJ said is this one is actually more like Uniswap than QX. So
a clone,
this is, yeah. So this is like the decentralized Uniswap of Qubic. I put here, I don't know if this is correct, actually. I might need to amend this, but I need to go back one. But Qswap, I don't know, I need to go back.
I already had some.
Gone back. Let me just go back onto this one. So Qswap, I've put here 16% goes to shareholders, and I'm not sure if that's
no, you're right. That's correct.
Oh, is it correct? Is it? Okay. I think that's why I got. Oh, yes, yeah, that's right. I think that's why I got hold of some, because I was like, 16%. Wow, that is going to be, when this actually starts to grow. I've got 3 of these actually. When this one starts to grow, and if anybody can get this, in any other way, get some Qswap. I tell you what, it's great to have them within Qubic Capital as well. But I think if you actually own some of these as well, I think this one's going to be absolutely crazy. And for the amount that I bought them for, which was about, I think it was about 400 million.
411 million.
411. Oh my God, it was going crazy when I was trying to buy them from the bidding process, because you can actually buy them on the bidding process. It was just like mine were getting knocked out all the time. I was trying to get them for dirt cheap, and in the end, I was up for trying to get about 8, I think, and then suddenly I was like, it just ended, and I was like, oh, I've lost it. And then suddenly I saw 3 appear in my wallet, and I was like, oh yes, I've just got 3. But QCap has got 100 of these, 100 of these, and I've put here, as we all know, Uniswap is a top 20 coin in crypto, and on top of that, Qubic will be a disruptor to the whole space, and many users will flock over to Qubic. And the use of Qubic products, as they are cheaper and more efficient, will take place. So long term, don't know how long, but it doesn't really matter. You just literally have to hold and watch this. And if it does become the new Uniswap, because not every product, including Uniswap, including Ethereum, is going to have the top spots forever. You know, there's going to be other things that come in, whether they're cheaper, whether they're easier, whether they're on a platform that is better technology, maybe more secure, because, you know, you've got AI, you're going to have a lot of AI fraud and stuff like that coming in. You're going to want to be on the most secure system. So I'm liking Qswap a lot. I've got a few of those, and also doubly invested because I'm also in Qubic Capital as well. So if you can't get any Qswap, it is quite pricey. You can just get some investments into Qubic Capital and get exposure into Qswap automatically, which is quite considerable. 100 out of 676, I would say, is a great investment. So if you're like me and you're looking for passive income long term, then I would say this is a pretty good project to be in because of things like Qswap. So I'm going to click onto the next one, unless anybody's got anything to say about that. I'm sure you both like the idea of that, don't you? The Uniswap on Qubic. I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's got some not issues at the moment, but I think there's some stuff happening in the background where the devs, I think they wanted more shares or something because of obviously quorum votes. Yeah,
because it's pretty important actually, because you know the way that Qubic does its Dutch auctions is essentially to ensure that true decentralization happens. So it's a good way to make sure that it's hard for any one entity to control the entire outcome of a smart contract. Now, as we're seeing, like with Qubic Capital being able to accumulate so many on such a massive scale, that we're actually sometimes in a position to vote and determine the outcome of it. Now, that's good and bad. The good part is that, you know, our intentions are nothing but good and relate entirely to ensuring shareholders get the biggest benefit of holding all these smart contracts. Now, what happened with Qswap is the devs, they had instructions to bid for 200 shares. And like you just said, the last 15 minutes of that IPO was absolute craziness. I went in with what I wanted, and I went in high, and I knew the maximum I was going to spend, and it almost got to that. So I did have actually more like you that I was going to get, but they fell off because I was outbid. Now, the consequence of all of that is essentially that the devs, on top of the 20% fee that they're going to be collecting, want to have control over their smart contract to expand into different businesses or something. And the community who bought smart contract shares has actually openly been saying, hey, you know, since the beginning, there's been like 65 shares that have sold through QX, and you guys didn't even try to buy a single one. So I guess right now it's kind of at a stalemate of what's going to happen, because if the devs don't launch, then, you know, maybe we're going to be put in another situation of Qubic Capital saying, hey, you know what, maybe we'll collect that 20% on top of the 16 and we'll hire the devs and we'll put it through. So, you know, they do really have to think about what's going on, and Qubic Core has to really keep in mind that, you know, if made, it's going to take away from what people believe to be true decentralized platforms. So it's a real finicky line that we're maybe thinking about crossing right now, and I truly hope that the devs come out and just say, you know what, maybe we can do something like put a 2-year restriction on voting rights and give you a chance to accumulate shares over time so they're not too expensive or something. Anyway,
yeah, fine. I mean, I think all parties are playing the game with honesty. In fact, you know, like with regards to people like me with my 3 shares, I can't imagine me or you or most people doing anything to harm the project or trying to do anything nefarious, you know, with the voting rights or anything like that. So, but yeah, I just think it's going to be amazing. I just hope it's resolved and then they can get building and get it out there for when things start ramping up, because I think it's going to be really useful. What was I going to say? Right. Okay. Let's click onto the
being used the sooner we start collecting fees.
Yeah. Right. The next one up is Qvault. And I was actually asking the guys in the Qubic Capital. I was like, I can't find any information about Qvault, but anyway, I found it. So basically, Qvault is the smart contract for Qubic Capital assets. Fees generated 3% of QCAP revenues. Qubic Capital Holdings 244 out of 676. So again, top holder of this smart contract. So Qvault is going to be used for fundraising, buying assets, IPO, everything decentralized, but voted for by QCAP holders. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It's just getting everything on chain and keeping everything tidy and above board, I suppose. I don't think there's much more to say on that one, is there?
Oh, there's lots. Qvault is another sleeper. So the way that Qubic Capital works is you're paid distribution of 95%. 45% goes back into reinvestment. 50% is paid out to shareholders. That's kind of what we voted on right now. Now, if you own 10,000 shares today with 2 million shares out there, that gives you what, like 2% maybe of the total dividends to be paid out. Now, if you don't keep accumulating, the further along you get, 5 million, 10 million shares, whatever has been released in circulating supply, your actual share of the total pot reduces, right? I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because the cost of everything's going to go up. The more adoption there's going to be, you're still going to be earning a substantial amount, but you're not growing with it. Now, if you own the Qvault smart contract itself, from today forever, you earn 3% divided between 676 shares of all of the fees that go through Qvault. And keep in mind, Qubic Capital is the #1 holder of that. So Qubic Capital collects, 267 shares that we have? I can't remember. But we're going to collect 3% of all the fees, and that goes back into distribution to shareholders too. So it's a real... Qubic Capital could essentially be the guiding light, the heart of the entire Qubic ecosystem in regards to smart contracts. And Qvault's going to be the one that's going to guide it.
Marvelous. And again, it's just beefing up the whole ecosystem, you know, and it's just adding value as we go. So what we have here is we have MS Vault. I think this is going to be really useful. It's a multi-sig smart contract. So I'm not sure about the fees on this one, but QCAP Holdings are holding a considerable amount of holdings. So 244 out of 676. The top holder again, which is going to be great, because when this starts to be used, which it will, it's going to really generate a lot of fees. So MS Vault is a multi-signature smart contract on Qubic that allows users to securely store Qubic tokens in a shared vault. Transactions require approval from multiple owners, in brackets quorum of X or of Y or X model, and all collected fees are distributed to shareholders. So you can kind of see where this is going to be useful, you know, where you've got people doing like multi investments or families or whatever. You know, crypto is not just, because I mean, at the moment, for myself, for example, I'm the only one in the family that knows anything about crypto, really. I'm trying to educate people, but sometimes it's quite difficult. So there's going to be time where, you know, families are kind of like saying, right, I've got this kind of investment or what have you, and you know, we need to ensure, or it might be something to do with a business or whatever, we need to ensure that there's a multi-sig on that contract, so that we can, you know, secure the money, we can decide as a group what we're going to do with that money, etc. But I think this one's going to be really useful, and it's going to be interesting to see the ways in which it's actually used. So yeah, another really a really bullish project on QUBIC. And you know, the thing that I've noticed about all the projects that are launching on QUBIC, they've all got a good tech to them. They've all got good user kind of requirements and what have you, because people can't, if anybody that doesn't, a lot of people watching this chat now, if people know about QUBIC, they'll realize that you can't just come and launch some rubbishy project. You know, it's got to go through the systems to be able to launch it, and then launch it as a smart contract IPO. So it's got to kind of get voted on and all that, which means that throughout QUBIC's history, you know, in the next few years, we are just going to be full with contracts, with smart contracts that are all really, really good. Okay, so you're not going to, like, you know, if you look at Ethereum, for example, and I'm not slagging Ethereum off, because I think they were a good kind of foundation for crypto in some ways. They've got loads of faults, and I think two of the faults are huge fees, and also the fact that just any old rubbish can build on it, you know. Whereas QUBIC is a very different story, and I think that is kind of replicated in or shown in these slides that we're showing today. The next slide here is.
Before we go, I just want to, if I could elaborate a little bit on
yeah, of course, yeah, please do.
One of the most important aspects about the consensus requirement of launching a smart contract within the QUBIC ecosystem is that the computers are the ones who really want to ensure that there's not redundancy. So, you know, for instance, we talked about, you know, QX and Qswap and QBridge coming. These are all really important aspects to the ecosystem, but in order to not create a competitive environment of smart contracts that do the same thing, essentially the requirement is it has to be original, it has to be functional, it has to provide for the ecosystem. So, you know, when you gain access to these smart contract shares, I think most people don't realize that, yeah, you know, they're kind of expensive coming out of the gates and stuff, but the equivalency of holding a share versus holding QUBIC itself, I guess there's pros and cons. Your QUBIC is liquid, you can sell it on the way up. I'm more of a long-term holder because I believe in the 0.01. But it also means that that these fees that are generated by the smart contract are absolutely could be life-changing. Holding one Qswap share could easily be yours and your kids' mortgage payments, you know, without even thinking hard about that. Like that's just an easy possibility, you know. So the more people understand about QUBIC, the harder it's going to be to buy QUBIC, and that's just where I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Vibra,
true.
You got anything on that?
I just completely agree with everything you guys are saying. You know, this is the one thing that I need to do a lot more digging into, this game right here. I think from what I was told, this thing could be huge. And
I'll tell you what, you hit me up, you ask me anything, because I've been playing a nice little inside role with the assets, with the creation, with a lot of the different things inside of it. I'm not taking credit for it, but I've been involved in a lot of it. So feel free anytime.
Maybe I'll have you on a stream and we can go once I know a little more about it and kind of tinker around myself. Then I can ask you some actual questions and yeah, I'd love to do that. Cool.
Yeah, man,
that
definitely.
both is going to be a good way the MS Vault is going to be a great way. So if MLM, the game itself, grows as exponentially huge as what everybody thinks it's going to, you're going to have groups of people that are going to be operating one safe house. And that MS Vault is going to be a perfect way to store earnings and divide earnings and track expenses and you know, everything inside of it without having to worry about who owns what and someone running away with a wallet. So that's my 2 cents on MS Vault.
Marvelous, guys. So we're on to this this game, and at the start I could not get my head around it. I'll be honest with you. I could, because I'm quite a visual person, and I was like, I need to see it. What is this game? What does it look like? What does it, you know, what are the characters and stuff like that? But obviously it's in development. But I've kind of got my head around it now, and I've bought some in-game items. So it's a real-world asset survival game, and I think it's based in. I think it's like based in Eastern Europe or something like that. That's what will happen when it actually comes into reality. The fees there's in. Sorry, say that again.
1990s dystopian future or past.
1990s, yes. Okay,
Yep.
so that's perfect because you can it's kind of gritty, and it's going to have in-game fees, and from in-game assets as well.
I can run through that real quick and easy for you if you like.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, please do.
Go get her.
Is Charlotte still here?
Yeah, go get her. Go knock on the door. Okay, so
It's just her babysitting.
the way that the smart contract operates in and of itself is like everything that CFB does. He's got 50% paid to shareholders, 50% is paid to the safe house owner. So if you own a safe house, you're essentially earning only on when people regenerate within your safe house. You get 50% of the 1 million cubic fee. All right. The other 50% goes into a pot and it's paid out to shareholders as dividends, the 676. Now, in game, all of these different assets are created with the absolute reflection of true to life everything. You know, for instance, I have a crane, and I had asked him if I could put it in my mansion, and he said no, because there's not a scenario in the world where you would need to have an industrial sized crane in a residential area. You know, so like all of these little intricacies of the game are 100% based on whether they can feasibly be truly done in real life.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
all of the diesel, because there's no gas, because gas doesn't live, gas goes dead after a year, so you can't use it, right? So everything in game is diesel. So the only diesels that there is within the game to operate any of these vehicles all took place using a random roll. I'm sorry. I gotta just pick somebody up. Just give me 1 second, guys. Please chat.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll carry on for a moment. So QCap holdings are 35 out of 676, which is a top 4 holder, still quite considerable.
Can you mute his mic quick?
Yeah.
Can you just mute his mic? You can do it manually. I can't do it.
Let's have a look. Where is he? Where is he?
Just down in the bottom there. You should be able to mute him. Perfect.
Is it gone?
Yep.
Yep. He's not gone, but he's muted.
Yeah. Just so we don't hear him.
Yeah. Hear him, and his life is continuing, you know. But I kind of get that. I'm pleased that he came on, but yeah, we need to concentrate.
No,
so
he's got a lot of alpha. I'm glad he's on.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just to confirm what PJ was saying, created by the Qubic founder CFB. So I've called it an investment game. It will combine strategic survival instincts and community interactions into a captivating gameplay experience. The in-game economy allows players to generate real income through crafting, trading, and safe house management. Smart contract holders make money via resurrection fees. So I presume that's when a player gets killed, to resurrect the player again so they can play again, keep playing, you probably have to pay a fee, which is clever. Customization services and in-game fees due to the player making transaction. So yeah, I think it's gonna tick a lot of boxes. It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be addictive, and there's gonna be ways to make big monies as well, which players are gonna like, and you'll be able to trade. You know, all the assets are gonna be tradable. So those assets that I bought for relatively cheap, once the game starts to get underway, I would have thought they're just going to absolutely fly. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. Now I'm just going to, I didn't want to because we were already on the stream. What I'll do is I'm going to bring our friends in now, because I didn't want to just overload people that are viewing. We've got nearly 1,000. I think we topped 1,000 viewers, live viewers. Thanks very much, everybody, for coming. I'm going to now bring in Samson, who's been doing loads of streams. Hello, mate. How are you? You all right? Sorry to keep you there in the green room. I just didn't, because we were in kind of full flow. I didn't want to just bring you in and then not say anything to you. And I think
you're good.
Dirty's in there, but I don't know if Dirty is just there to connect his site, because what we've tried a little experiment today that we've had. Well, I contacted a few people in the Qubic community, and I just said, yeah, can you connect your X, and we'll try and really ramp up the numbers so we can get as far and wide out as possible. And so far, I can tell you now, we've got 1, 2, including mine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 connections. So we are going live in 8 different places. So I really, everybody that's joined in, I think you've been very
awesome,
generous, and thanks for kind of helping us out, because we're here for the long game, and we want to be we want to be, I suppose, what's the word, important streamers on Qubic, because we are invested. We enjoy it. We enjoy the community, and yeah, we want to do more of it. Really, quite enjoy it. Bringing guests on and stuff like that, and kind of have a magazine. Maybe we're going to be doing some giveaways, and make it fun but also informative, and basically no bullshit. Not these. We are not KOLs. We are just guys that are invested and passionate about crypto. And I have been from day one, since I first was invested, and I know that's true with all you guys on the stream at the moment. So Samsung, how you doing, mate? How's things?
Things are good, man. The morning's good. I got in an early morning rep on live before I tuned into you guys, so I'm a little warmed up on the mic.
Yeah, man, you've been doing some monster streams online. I put one on the other day, and I was just cooking, listening to it while I was streaming. Sometimes it's just nice to have in the background, somebody talking about Qubic and just riffing away, really, and just kind of like going through charts and other things that you were talking about as well. It was really interesting. Keep on with it, mate.
Yeah, thank you. It's good. It's fun for me too, because sometimes I'll stumble upon a thought like midstream, like, oh, that's a new thought, and then it'll just kind of add to the canon of like the narrative of what's going on. So yeah,
I think exposure online is a really big thing, and it was kind of missing for a while. I'm not saying anything to do with me, but I'm obviously helping a little bit. And all of us guys that are on stream today, look, we've got 1,037 viewers, so really appreciate everybody that's come on from the community and from out the community as well. Maybe you want to get involved. And I'll tell you now, if you do get involved and you're not in Qubic at the moment, trust me, you'll be very, very welcomed inside the Discords and on X. Everybody's just so decent in the main. I've kind of been welcomed in and introduced to various other people building and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, just if we keep them good vibes and we just keep people coming in. And obviously I would tell everybody that's looking to invest, we're obviously bullish, we're in the project, we've invested, but always do your own research. Don't, even if we give you some really bullish information here, don't do anything on the back of what people say online. Always do your own stuff, because you're going to be the ones clicking the button at the end of the day. And if price does go down, that's life. But we think there's a lot of upside in Qubic, and also Qubic Capital as well, which we're kind of focusing on today. So the last thing that I wanted some input from you guys, especially you, PJ, on this one. Maybe you two as well. Number 10, we've got here mining equipment. Now, Qubic Capital owns $110,000 worth of CPU, GPU. I always get confused about CPU and GPU, and I'm not going to lie. Mining can be big business. And as Qubit becomes a bigger project, the tokens are going to become extremely valuable, and mining will bring in huge amounts of money for holders. What do you know about mining and mining operations? I know you know a bit, PJ. Do you know a lot, Vibra or Samson? What do you guys want to share with me on regards to mining, and what kind of monies can it make?
So I'm gonna just start and say I'm not into mining at all. It's not my thing. But I just wanted to go what you were saying earlier with the getting people together. Like in these communities, people can't just expect everything to just happen. People need to take the initiative and do stuff. And the fact that you did this, you brought people together, you recognize there's certain people that are talented out here, and if they get brought together, we can reach a bigger audience together. And like, you know, I really like the flow of this. And if we could be consistent with this and do it once a week on a scheduled time, people get familiar with it. You know, we start doing giveaways. People can ask any questions. Like, this is what we need to do to pump. This is how I pump my own bags, you know, is by getting out and telling people and being showing by example, putting my money where my mouth is, and bringing people on like Samson, who is so much more knowledgeable about Qubic than I am, you know, about the intricacies of the different dApps and ecosystems being built. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know all this. I'd rather defer to someone that's way smarter than me. And when you put those people like that put ego aside and are here to just share information and who are truly passionate about it, people resonate with it. So good job setting this all up.
100. Yeah, thanks, mate. I mean, 100%. And this is where I do most of my learning. You know, I'm online now, and PJ's been saying things, and I listen to Samson's videos and things that you've been talking about as well. And we've not really tapped into some of your background with some of those big clients of yours as well, Vibra. Maybe we'll do that on another stream. But he was telling me in the green room about, you know, some of these big clients that he's got, and it's not necessarily saying buy Qubic, but it's the fact that, you know, they potentially might be exposed to Qubic. It's not about shilling to people, but you know, when you've got a wealth investor group or people that are wealthy and they are investors, and we're talking about the project to them, and they might have like several $1 million to invest. And once we're confident about telling people, I've told a few wealthy people that I know, you know, this is a potential, have a look at it, and they've asked me questions and stuff like that. This is how the word spreads out. I don't know if I've got a big enough bag yet. That's my only thing. I really want to get some more tokens before the price starts shooting out. That's the only problem. I've got kind of pre-FOMO. Yeah, it's been great. So I mean, anything you want to share on the GPU stuff, the CPU stuff, PJ and Samson?
Yeah, I can just throw a little bit into it. I am by no definition of the term a pro on it at all. I have 6 rigs. They're running downstairs. They're plugging away 24 hours a day. I got a buddy who introduced me to so much of the ecosystem, and he is essentially a master of mining. He would be a much better person, but his English isn't that great. He doesn't like talking online. So I try to explain things as best as I can, but it's sometimes getting lost in the transition with people who are more technically inclined than I am on how everything works. As for the Monero situation that we're going through, we couldn't have better marketing, just on the simplicity of the fact that, you know, once again, CFB has said and then done and then proven it, that just because everybody says it can't be done makes them more determined to make it happen. And right now we've got, what, I don't know if you guys watched that little YouTube Bitcoin news did earlier today, and they started chatting about Qubic, and my stomach just turned, and I just realized, holy crap, we're so early. Like, I've only been in it for a year and a half, and my life has been turned upside down because of it, because it's just, I can feel where it's going. Every ounce of my being says that, holy crap, this is everything. This is going to be how the future operates. And then you got these people who are experts in the industry, and they're sitting there talking to 3 million followers saying, oh, well, this and that, and they're entirely backwards on everything. I'm like, guys, reach out. Let's chat about this, because you're wrong. So wrong.
But that's the thing with they won't do it because that way they have their followers that are not brainwashed, but they tell their followers what they want to hear, and they're not going to go tell them a different message and start having to think, oh God, I'm in the wrong projects. And then you start, so they're not going to do it. They have their followings. They'd rather just ignore it completely. And it's sad that they get, that's where all the attention goes. And it's like, no, that stuff is topped out. All of the opportunities in stuff, smaller projects that's being fudded that the big guys aren't talking about it because they're not getting paid to.
Exactly.
I think that's the key thing here. You see, I think talking honestly about projects and QUBIC, I think it's going to be much more appreciated than if we were like big KOLs with like 50,000 followers or what have you. I mean, we might get big followings at some point. And I'll tell you, over the last few months, I've had people hitting me up and saying, oh, can you shield this? Can you shield that? And I'm not really interested. I don't want to talk about anything that I'm not personally invested in or I think is a really good project that I've delved into. There's just no point in doing it. I can't get enthusiastic about that, you know. Guys, Dirty is waiting here. I'm going to bring you in, Dirty, just to say hello. How are you doing, mate? Your mic's, yeah, there we go. How are you, mate?
I'm on the road.
You're on the road.
So I might cut out. I'm on the Starlink right now. So on the Alaska Highway right now. Great talk, Rainbow. I mean, excellent information today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. No, thanks to these guys. I just I just try and be a host, you know. I try and host it and try and you know, bring some of the information out. Really, I think that's the key. That's what I'm kind of good at. But I'm kind of sitting here like you, Dirty, and I'm learning and just trying to pick some information out of these guys because these guys have got a lot of good information. So that's I'm just going to move it on to the next slide. The next slide is one. We've got questions. We'll look at some questions at the end if there are any. I've got a feeling we've kind of basically hit. I've not seen like masses of questions online, which is fine because I think we've just gone into things in depth of what Qubit Capital is. Just to let you guys know that there's IPOs up and coming. One is Voten. I think that's a bridge. And then is that right?
Yeah, that's the one that's going to bring it all together. That means
wow, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
So what is it bridging?
Immediately it's ETH, and I believe eventually it's going to open it up to as much as everything. It's going to have fee pools. It's going to have the whole 9 yards. It's essentially what we need to allow people in and out of the ecosystem without having to worry about their tokens getting locked up on a DEX or a CEX.
Right. Okay, so we're talking
Ethereum and Arbitrum, I believe.
That's it, Arbitrum.
Sansom, thanks, mate. Yeah, I tell you what's really good because I mentioned something in a chat. I can't remember where, but I was like, interoperability is a big thing. I mean, QUBIC is fantastic, as we all know, but there's going to be other things built on other chains as well. So we need to be need to be connected.
The connected that you talk about is actually so important. It's so much so that I don't know if you've ever heard mention of the oracles that QUBIC is going to be implementing. So once we have enough compute power to be training AGI, the next step is going to be to launch oracles within the QUBIC ecosystem, which is essentially going to make us a centralized trading system to the entire crypto universe of everything. With our feeless transactions, our ability to communicate not just with other layer ones, layer twos at any level within that system, we're also going to be able to communicate with fiat. So you're going to see, like I often say, you know, QUBIC is going to be required by all, and I absolutely mean it because we're talking about a centralized exchange between every single other currency, whether it's in real world or in crypto. It's just massive. It's so huge.
That sounds really bullish. I mean, I get the sense that, I mean, looking at what CFB is up to with regards to Monero mining and all the rest of it, I mean, these things, I don't think I've ever seen any of this been done in all of the time in crypto. You know, some of these things that we're just sitting back looking at on X. You know, you're talking about AGI, you're talking about, you know, mining a 3 billion market cap or whatever it is, crypto. And when we're only we've only just hit 400 million, and it's like, how is all this happening? And we take it for granted that we've got like a genius, but we've also got not just a genius in charge, but some of his team. I've spoken to them on lives. I don't know if any of you've seen them, but people like Joe Tom and people like Alba. I've not spoke to Alba, but I've seen a lot of his conversations. And then I spoke to Dr. Sanchez on a stream, and I'm like sitting there thinking, you know, we are literally, I'm like talking to some of the most smartest people in crypto. So that is obviously where I want to be. And, you know, obviously I'm not only a 100% holder in QUBIC, but I've got other things. But QUBIC at the moment is looking like way head and shoulders above a lot of the other projects, just because of its risk to reward is looking very good, strong, because obviously you've got the risk, I feel, is quite low. And the potential to go high is just massive. You know, from a 400 million market cap, we are talking probably like a top 3 crypto at some point. And if we get AGI, it's gonna. I know this is gonna sound crazy, and you guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but if we get AGI and people start building and exposing themselves to AGI, QUBIC is going to be the #1 crypto above Bitcoin. You know, it's going to be on. It's going to be the biggest investment ever.
Even
it will be. It will be.
Bigger. Every single smart contract is going to be able to sold. So if you look at the big picture, the way that he's designed this, essentially the amount of QUBIC you hold is what gives you attention from Agarth. All right. So if I hold 10 billion and you hold 1 billion, Agarth is going to give me priority for whatever needs to be done. Now, when you think about a penny, when we get to that point, when we release AGI, holding 1 billion QUBIC is going to be nearly impossible. It's going to be unheard of, right? And if we're going to be developing smart contracts of AGI, it's going to be people like me and you who hold multiple billions of QUBIC in liquid form, and we're going to be able to actually lease our QUBIC to other massive companies, like huge companies, so that they can launch their smart contract and not have to accumulate all the QUBIC. So we're essentially going to be renting out our bags that we've been accumulating, and earning through smart contracts, all of that kind of stuff. It's all going to be. I think it's going to look small compared to how much you're going to be able to earn by leasing your stack as the ability for someone else to run a smart contract. So like whether it's a family who wants to homeschool their child and AGI trains at the level that they're able to learn, you know, something like that might cost 500 million QUBIC to implement that smart contract. And you could say, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll put my 500 million QUBIC here. I'll let you rent it from me for $200 a month. You know, or whatever the case may be, 200 QUBIC a month, whatever it is. It's going to give everybody the opportunity who learned about it early, who was able and tried really hard to accumulate, the ability to deliver a very attainable product, regardless of how much money you have in the real world. I just, every which way I look, every single aspect of QUBIC is bullish.
It's just a case of holding. That's all. Holding,
Yep.
Engaging, and enjoying, sitting back and watching the price rise. Because at some point it's going to be out of our reach to get more.
Yep.
So, just to give you a bit.
Can I just say one?
Yeah,
one
of
thing
course.
about the passive income part there, and then that's the one thing that I really drive home on my streams is the whole narrative that these people have of, oh, when's the top? When am I going to sell? When are you getting out? When are you selling your crypto? It's like, that is such the wrong mentality. Right now, you should be thinking, what assets can I accumulate that I never have to sell? That in the future, when they grow in value, I can loan against them instead of selling them. I can just put them to work and earn yield on them. And I think the institutions are going to drive this cycle, and they're all about yield. And I just think people have the meme coin, whatever that was in 2023, 2024, traumatized retail to the point where they just cannot wait to get out of this cycle and sell the top, when that is just not the way to be thinking. You need to be accumulating stuff like this that will be paying you who knows where in the future. Like the passive income opportunities are going to keep growing, and how important that is and how valuable that can be. Like the downside risk here to versus where we're going on the upside. There's very few things that exist around crypto like this.
I had a guy tell me today that if he got a 10x, he'd be happy. I told him, I said, I'm not even sure I would even consider even selling a little bit 100x. Maybe,
Exactly.
Once we start getting to about 100,000, a billion, maybe I'll start offloading a little bit. But, I've got my bag that to sell on the way up this road. But I bet you 90% of my entire holdings are in passive income generating.
I staked my entire bag 3 weeks ago, and I didn't realize it was a 1-year lock. So I was thinking I could unstake at any time.
Just gotta click on lock.
Yeah, but the penalties are those. So now I'm in there, and I'm not going to eat those penalties. I'm going to just wait the whole year.
So
Someone's mic is hot.
yeah, real hot. So I think what you need to know with that is who is that? Oh, doesn't matter. With Kern, you're getting a back over 12 months, and you're not actually being charged. What you're doing is you're actually you're forfeiting the ROI you would have received. So once you hit 4 weeks, you start earning on your stake. After 4 weeks, you start earning a percentage of the total ROI that it says. The other day it says 90%. Coming blockchain is going to lock in at that percentage with the number of people that bought into that stake. Now, for instance, a while back, I had about 17 people in, and I pulled out a few billion. What I had in there, my total returns were under 1%. So, unless you plan on keeping it there for the full 12 months, you're not going to see a whole lot of return if you cash out to try to DCA it. So you're better off putting that money into something like Qubit Capital. Liquid, over time, and it's going to increase, or by investing into your own smart contract shares, because then those are going to pay you directly. Even if you run out 100 or 600, you're still going to be getting those weekly fees that are paying you every single Wednesday.
That's it. At the moment, peanuts, but those peanuts are going to turn into gold coins. Right. So, guys, I just want to draw it to a close a little bit now, because we are heading on, and I'm sure I can see that you guys are very busy people. So I just wanted to go through some of the stats. So on Discord at the moment, we have on Qubit Capital, we have 948 engaged members. So we want to try and grow that. There's a lot of stuff on there. There's a lot of good chat, and you can ask questions. And one of the leads there, Wolf, he doesn't get moody if you ask him even the most simplest of questions I have, and he's fine. So get on there. Get on the Discord. If you need an invite, I can send you one, no problem. Just hit me up and I can do that. On the main Qubic channel, we have now got 59,534 members, and that's gone up considerably because I keep a track on these each day. Again, hit me up for an invite, or any one of these guys. We can send you an invite, no problem. I think you can actually click invite straight from the website as well. And also X profiles. Yeah, please follow. I'm sure most of you are. If you're not, it's X is Revo Communities, and also Vibra Finance, and PJ. Sorry, I didn't write yours down. But if you want to find PJs, you can have a look in my friends list, or if you want PJs, just hit me up and I'll send it to you. Qubic main X profile is @_Qubic_, and then the X profile for Qubit Capital is Qubic_Capital. The official Qubic website is qubic.org, and the Qubit Capital website is under development. So guys, I just want to bring this meeting, because we're touching on, well, we're 1 hour 43, but it's really flown by as usual. Loads and loads of viewers, but I just want to go through and just give you a final say on Qubit Capital, on Qubic, or whatever else you wanted to talk about. So Vibra.
Man, it was awesome stream. And as much as I feel like I know about Qubic and how bullish I am, after going through these slides, it makes me realize how much more I still need to learn, and it just excites me. And like I said, there's very few projects out here that you look at the founder, right? As much as you got to invest in the narrative and the project, the founder too is also very important. And Come From Beyond is one of the GOATs out there. If you look at all his previous projects, and I think when he goes to sleep, he's Nicholas von Saberhagen, and he wakes up as Come From Beyond. And when you start putting these things together, man, it's just like, am I going crazy, or is this guy really Satoshi and like one of the minds behind half of the stuff we know in crypto? And I kind of feel that way about Richard Hart and the stuff he's doing. So there's just few projects out here that really excite me, and I'm just blessed to be here early. And for all you guys finding it now, that you look at the chart and you're like, oh man, it's really pumping. I first started buying it when it lost to 0. So it's still over 3x from here. So down here, I'm still looking at it like it's a deal, and don't worry about the price right now. It's still extremely cheap in my opinion. So this whole ecosystem, Qubic Capital, is another way to gain exposure to all these great projects, which is what I'm in the process of doing. I still got to buy another 100 million or so because I'm not unlocking my entire bag I staked. So I'm actually glad I did that. I'd rather make a mistake and lock stuff up for the long term than sell out of stuff too early. That's a mistake I see too often. So appreciate you putting this together, Revo, and hopefully we can do this over and over again.
Absolutely, mate. There's a lot, as you said, there's a lot to talk about. So yeah, I'm happy to do it on a weekly basis, and we'll see what the guys at the Qubic HQ seem to think about it. So PJ.
Hey, yeah, I'm totally with Vibra here. Since the very beginning, I literally, like, light bulbs went off and I understood what was going on. I saw the potential, and I dug in deep. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to share with people what it was I knew. And the more I shared, the more people looked at me like I was nuts. And I'm not even, well, how long did we talk, Revo, before you actually did your first buy? It must have been months.
You were harassing me.
I couldn't help it, man. Like, I'm telling you.
No, I mean that in a good way. But you kept dropping it in, going, "You got to take a look at this, mate. You got it." And then I was looking at other stuff, and I was like, "Do I?" And I was like, "Yeah, I better take a look at it." And that's when I finally. So it was a few hits, 3 or 4 hits, and then suddenly I was like, "Right, mate, I'm going to look at it tonight." And I started looking at it, and I think on that night I said, "Right, where can I get some?"
Exactly. Yeah, I had a buddy today, literally, who texted me and said, "Man, I wish I listened to you sooner." And it hurt a little bit because I wish you did too, because I have nothing but intentions of helping people succeed. The hardest part about Qubic is understanding Qubic, that the intentions are open. We've literally destroyed the trifecta of scalability and decentralized and what's the other one? I'm sorry.
Security.
And this is something people still believe can't be done, and yet we're doing it right now. You know, people that are out there, they're living and aching to get into DAG, and what they don't realize is what DAG is striving to accomplish. We're literally delivering right now. So, you know, if I had to say anything about Qubic, it's dig in. Ask somebody who knows. Anybody who holds Qubic is going to be more than willing to help you learn about Qubic. So that's all I got to say.
Absolutely, yeah, brilliant. Samsung.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So what I have to say on top of it, what everybody's saying, I agree with it. Everything everyone's saying so far. Qubic's just getting started, man. This is just the beginning. It's like just getting the foundational people, like the people who know and believe the idea is there and real and the infrastructure is there. Now it's time to start to get moving. Now we have the foundation, we have the community. It's like, and now QCAP, and now QCAP came so early. It's like I don't even know where to start now because it's gone so far from where it started. Like it came in so early. Like I think there was a post like from they did a repost like from one of their first posts like of their capital raised. It was like 25K or something like that, which is a lot. Like to an average person, that's a lot, right? That's a lot of money. But in the crypto fundraising world, that's like 20K, like whatever. What does that mean, right? But you look at where they came from that point, which is like less. I mean, I think probably a year, maybe a year and a half ago, tops, to now, what they raised within a week compared to what they raised with their first like fundraiser. Like if you compare those two growth charts, that's all the math. If you're an investor, if you're a VC, keep in mind Qubic has no VCs, but if you're a VC and you see the growth of that little project and you see what they're able to raise now within a matter of like 24 hours, you're like, wait, what the fuck is actually going on here? Because they're able to like create value out of just a sale, right? And that value is real. Just like kind of how, not to bring memes into it, but like how Garth created a lot of value on the Qubic ecosystem. Because look at how much one Garth token is worth, I believe last time I checked, is worth 9 Qubic. And when it first came out, it was worth 6 Qubic, I believe. Right? So value is being created out of the Qubic ecosystem, right? Even out of memes. It's value's growing. So it's like if you just connect the dots even a little bit, you don't even have to be a nerd. Just connect the dots a little bit. You'll see Qubic is creating value out of community, out of engagement, just out of
the token.
Yeah.
The point that I would make on the back of what you're saying is the token is integrated, isn't it? The token is very much integrated into everything that happens, which is where the value is really for us as investors. It's
exactly.
crazy. Yeah,
exactly.
And that's only going to ramp up. That's only going to get more and more and more scarce as time goes on. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Can I
Sorry?
elaborate a little bit on what Samson said there?
Yeah.
Just about the increased value. So from the very first round that was opened up, there was about 50 people, and it sold out in less than, I believe it was 48 hours. This is from conception, right? The very first round that was out there, and it was 13.5 million for what eventually ended up being 50 shares because we did a stock split. So that meant that the first round and I think the second round were literally 200,000 per cubic, and now we're sitting at 320,000 per cubic. That's like a 60% increase in less than a year. In terms of returning value in the entire ecosystem, Qubic Capital, by owning QCap themselves, is the highest return out of everything so far, I believe. So that's only going to grow. As more IPOs launch, we're going to collect more assets. As we have more assets, dividends are going to increase. Yeah, you're going to dilute your percentage of total ownership with tokens in circulation. But the reality is with the increased value, the increased fees coming in, being generated, your passive income is only going to go up over time. And then the cost of the share is going to go up over time. It's a leverage play on a leverage play on a leverage play within one ecosystem. It's amazing.
Well, one more thing on top of that, this is like QCAP is like I like to think of it as the micro strategy of Qubic. Like you just leverage your investment on top of the entire ecosystem.
Yeah,
exactly.
But
I think yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I actually put on the first slide. I think I put the S&P 500 of Qubic. So same kind of thing. It's going to generate. So as Qubic grows as a project, Qubic Capital is going to just churn in money constantly. But the great thing about Qubic Capital is you earn money, but you don't have to sell your Qubic Capital. So you will always have that, but you're earning that. It's like your own bank, basically.
And it's like mining without any kind of hardware. No maintenance, no employees, no electricity fees. You're literally mining Qubic just by holding Qubic Capital tokens, QCAP.
Chad has just said QCAP is a bet on the entire Qubic network. Yep.
Chad
absolutely.
Okay, I got to say this since Chad's on here now. Chad was hosting the spaces that I called into to talk to Wolf about Qubic Capital, and I literally purchased Qubic Capital before that stream even finished. I was messaging Wolf in the DMs while he was still chatting on the Spaces. So
Well,
because
this
of
is
that,
it, you see.
that I'm in.
We're smart, you know. We pick things up pretty quick, you know, especially when it comes to investing. I'm going to give so Dirty, I'll ask you to give a few words on your thoughts. And
Okay, of course I'm on mobile Starlink here, so I'm not sure if I'm.
that's all right, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Hey, first thing is there's a lot of misinformation out there going on, and the most important thing is to be educated. Of all the people that have onboarded on a Qubic in different communities I'm in, is they do their research and they like what they see. So it's encourage people to be educated, and they're going to see that it is. There's just no way around it. It's the future. Qubic is the future. It solves so many problems. I implore yourself to be educated as well, because there's so much to learn, and that's what makes it fun. So it's been exciting. This last 6 months for me has been super exciting, and do the best you can to go out there and support guys like Samson and Revo. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. I look forward to more StreamYard spaces. This has really been one of the most informative spaces I've been in for Qubic. So I'll make sure next time I'm not mobile.
That's fine. That's fine, you know.
Yeah, it's a new world, right? But I'm actually headed to Anchorage right now, and this is where the two biggest leaders in the world are meeting today.
Wow.
For the summit. So let's pray for some peace here. You know.
That is a great point to that's a great point to finish on, really. Let's just because I think, when I was talking to Dr. Sanchez about AGI and its development and its potential, I think that was one of the key things that we were talking about, the fact that I think AGI Qubic can actually bring a lot of that about, peace to the world and prosperity and possibilities, for human development. I think is one of the things that I'm really hoping that AGI can do that. And because the AGI that's being built on Qubic is going to be open source to much of an extent, and also anti-military as well, it's I don't think it's from what Dr. Sanchez was saying, I don't think it's anything that we need to be, or anybody that thinks or talks about AGI needs to be worried about. Guys, I really appreciate you all come in here, and I can see, like, you can actually see you've all got really busy lives because so much stuff's been going on in the background. And I just want to say thanks very much for everybody that's attended, and also all the viewers that have attended this stream as well. We've currently got like over 1,200 on the stream, which is one of the best, I think. Nice one, mate. Thanks everybody, because I think it's one of the best in the whole of Qubic, and we've been regularly now pushing up the numbers, but it's down to you guys as well, who are supporting and also joining in as well. So I'm going to try and do more of these kind of streams where we can give everybody a bit of a viewpoint, as long as we as long as we keep it with sensible stuff. I think the viewers will appreciate that, because I think what people are looking for in the crypto space, certainly me, I am looking for people that are talking honestly, transparently, and that are actually in the project, rather than KOLs that are just shilling, some of these ones with like big, 50,000 or 100,000 viewers that are just shilling things because they're getting paid to do it. And not saying that there isn't small payments in Qubic, but I think it's the people that are in Qubic are definitely investors and are thinking about the bigger picture for the project. So I just want to thank you all, and I just want to hope you have a good evening wherever you are, or whatever time scale it is there, and have a great time, and we'll see you on a future chat. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Revo. Appreciate it. It's good.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.